Right, welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. We are lucky to have Jessica from Joinavision with us today. She's one of our new partners here at the PFFA. You may know her as Tina. Jessica's her pen name, and I'm still to find out how that happened. So if we've got time tonight, maybe you'll let us know. Jessica is building a community hub. It's really exciting. She's going to tell us all about it. And what we're working towards with the PFFA and PHA is to create parallel communities and community hubs where people can start accessing food, health and education in their own way, on their own terms. And Jessica and her community are starting to do that. So I'm really excited to hear lots more about it. And there will be an opportunity for questions at the end. So welcome, Jessica. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us.
Do you want to start off by just describing to us the kind of current setup, and then maybe we can work backwards and you can tell us how we got there?
Yeah, we're currently up a long track in a 5-bedroom house with an acre of land. I've always just wanted land and wanted to, I think most of us actually, most people on the path that I've been on don't necessarily want to live in a house. We want to be more connected to nature. But I started to realize how difficult it is and how difficult they've made it for us to actually live close to the land. You're not allowed planning permission. If it's got planning permission, you're paying a fortune for it. They don't want tiny houses. People, well, there's an echo now. I don't know why that is. Anyway, there was this whole load of hurdles that I realized, and that how difficult they've made it for us to live a simple life. And so I started to reach out to people who wanted to live with other people, and together we didn't have much money. There was a lot of people who didn't have any money and a handful of people who had a bit of money. So I started to think, well, we've got to go about it a different way. We don't have to sell our house. We don't have to change where we live, but if there are a couple of investors that we can join with, then we can then combine our forces or energy with someone who is a non-investor. So Casey has just moved out of her flagship home, which cool. I've learned a bit more about flagship, and they're pretty much of a dictatorship. You can't have chickens, you can't run your own business, you can't have a log burner. They rip out all the carpets when you leave, even though if they're new carpets.
Sorry, can I interrupt you? So could you just, 2 questions. So firstly, how many of you live together now in your home? And then can you tell us what a flagship home is for those of us that aren't sure about that? Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. It's good to interrupt because I will just go off.
Okay, all right.
Reel me in. There's 8 of us. Well, we're a family of 6. We've got 4 children. And then we met David, well, at the very first meeting that created Joinavision. And then he was he'd left his wife and 2 children 10 years before that. He started going down, well, about 6 years before that, and then he met Kay, who his partner, and she'd been on her own for about 20 years, and so she sold her 2-bedroom house in Ipswich. David sold his 1-bedroom flat. We had a 3-bedroom house with a tiny garden. And we all joined forces, and we now live in a lovely big farmhouse with a conservatory and this acre of land, which is got polytunnel now. We've got chickens. We've just installed an indoor composting loo because long story there, but we're just trying to go more and more self-sufficient. And but in that process, we have also volunteers coming to help us. Who don't want to actually change where they're living. They're quite happy with their living, but they might not have a garden. So they're coming to help us with the garden.
So essentially, you've kind of joined up with another couple, and between you've sold the houses that you already had kind of mortgages in, and you've gone in together, and you're able to buy a house that can fit all of you in, but it's got the land so that you can create more of a kind of self-sufficient community. How long have you lived together like this?
3.5 months. So
Okay.
very new, but it's been effortless. I think it's like when you meet the right person, it just feels easy. And I think we're all dealing with our own stuff, like everybody on this journey. So me and my husband have had a big row. The other couple have had a big row. But I think that's because I think living with other people, if you've got any work that's going on inside, it will come out. So my husband's got a lot of stuff from his schooling, and he's kind of processing that, being kept in fear. So he has every time he is trying to branch out to be free, the little voice of negativity pulls him back. So I think he's processing that and he's letting go of that. And but as a group, it's just been incredible. Literally life-changing.
That's amazing. So okay, so I guess there's that element of kind of privacy. You're used to having your privacy and how what's going on in a relationship with yourself individually, and that can be maybe difficult to manage, but you have to learn to respect that. But then conversely, you would have more support around you, I would imagine, to help you through that. Can you how do you sort of form in the early days, how do you manage the kind of difficulties or challenges, or finding out whether you're on the same page? How much conversation did you have to sort of explore some of the difficulties of living together that might arise before you kind of made the jump in?
Well, not very much. So, but I've known. So I host. We created Joinavision, and then we realized quickly we wanted to connect people face to face. It wasn't just a internet group where people, post little things. And so I arranged a meeting in a park, and David turned up at every single one, and he turned up at all the camps that we hosted, and he worked. And I think the camps to me are just crucial. If you're going to go down this path, go camping with people and cook with them, because you'll very quickly find out who wants to be looked after and who's actually prepared to muck in, even if, they might not necessarily be skillful kitchen. None of us, I actually ended up looking at the cook tent, and I said to Katie, I hate that tent. I hate it. Because we got 4 children, and I was cooking for 100 people, and I hadn't really expected to. But David always helped and was always there. And so I think over the last 2.5, 3 years, we've chatted a lot. And then we started looking for houses with other people. And then we bought the pub. We sold our house because we were going to buy into another community in Norfolk, and that all sort of collapsed. So we'd sold our house and we didn't have anywhere to go. A pub came on the market, so we thought, well, a pub is perfect for Joinavision because we want to connecting, we want to being the bridge. Joinavision is all about being the bridge to this divided world. And so moved into the pub. And I went for a walk on my uncle's land and saw this house, and I came back to David and I said, you've got to go and see this house, because he was then involved in another group. But they didn't want it. But when I saw it, we just fell in love with it. And so luckily we'd sold our business as well. So we were able to buy the pub, rent the flat out to Cassia so she can come away from Flagship, which is a social housing. It's a private company, but they get benefits and government provide social housing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you actually ended up focusing on your community space first.
Yeah.
You found a pub and thought, this is going to be a great community space. And your vision for that was?
Well, it's kind of always developing. Casey well, for the age of 14, she's worked in pubs. I went for a stage of thinking we shouldn't serve alcohol. I was like, I just thought we can't serve it. But Casey was like, well, then you're being judgmental and divisive. So it's now a pub it's going to open about 3 weeks' time. It's a pub from Friday evening till Sunday lunch. And then it's a community hub from Sunday afternoon till Friday at 4. And
what happens there in the week then? So weekends are kind of socializing, I guess, and kind of getting together in a social way. How is your community hub used during the week?
Well, on Sunday we had a gong bath. Last Friday we had a group for families, but I don't like to ever say a family session, because I kind of think there's a lot of people that want to be around children who might have grown-up children or children that live away. So we have a singing and craft session. We sing in rounds, like African melodies, protest songs, but generally African or Irish or something like that. And then we've got yoga. Next week we've got a whole day focused on pregnancy, birth and post-pregnancy. So I'm going to talk about home birth, and I had a free birth, and we had an unexpected diagnosis of a Down syndrome child, and the deprogramming that we've had to do with that, and other people to talk about nutrition, but it's really, we want everybody to know, like when I was pregnant, I didn't know there was a free birth until my 4th child, and I didn't know the placenta got sold when you when you give it to the hospital. I spoke to midwives at the hospital. They don't know where it goes, but all they know, they box it up and it goes somewhere. And I want everybody to know this, so that we all are in control of every process of our lives. So
is that your vision then for the community space, is to create a space for people to come and share their experiences and knowledge, for that to impart on others, so that they can have more control over their own choices and the path they take in their lives? And is that essentially what Joinavision's about? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, with Joinavision, we've always said from pre-birth to post-death, everything needs a shake-up. That's kind of our thing on our website. Because women need to know that just because the doctor says you need a cesarean doesn't mean you have to have a cesarean. Doesn't mean you have to go to hospital. There's so much. I remember my best friend had a horrendous hospital birth, so that was enough. I was like, I'm never ever going to hospital. But people are like, you're brave. I was like, no, you're brave for having the hospital. And then we want people to understand you don't have to put your children to school. You might want a home ed, or if you do have to put them in school, then challenge the system. So my child won't be doing that homework, and just sort of just go in with a more. I go back to revert to that school mentality with the headmaster. So I was like, I would be better walking away than fighting the system. I'm just like, actually, I need to walk away from it. And then careers, people find themselves in jobs that don't keep them happy. And so we're trying to say, do something that you love, and the money will come, and the right people will come. Doors will open that you didn't know existed. And then death, what's going on? These stuffy funerals. We sit there with these hymns that they probably never even liked. And I just think, let's take control of every aspect of our life. And then we're not reliant on, the system can run along, and we can, growing, of course, our own veg. That's the big one. I
was going to ask you about that, obviously.
But, no, that's obviously, where is that in our schools? And not competing, our schools drive our children to compete instead of team. And just, you look at the sports fields and they're just empty fields with just goal posts or rugby posts, and they're like, it should be trees and nature. So
So I guess Joinavision is all about informing people of other choices and opening their eyes to not necessarily following what they're being told they have to do, that there are other options, to look at those other options, but have the confidence to speak up and have that. And then there's a community online that can support people to develop that confidence and that understanding. But the community hub that you have is a kind of physical representation of that in your local community. Are you looking to set up hubs around the country? Is it more empowering other people to do it for themselves?
Yeah, that would be lovely. I mean, I talked to a few people about setting up their own hub. We've got one in Essex, Louise Claire Ringshaw, she's got a hub. But really, I think it's really hard because, I think finding the right people to recreate what you're doing is really hard from afar off. So, and also you don't want this world where everything's Joinavision. You actually want it to be a really unique, like when you used to, well, in England, every pub used to be completely different, whereas now we've got chains everywhere. So I kind of think actually what we'd love to do is just connect the people that have these hubs, because there's loads of active people out there, and there's loads of people feeling isolated because they don't think anybody's on their wavelength, but then they could be living around the corner, but they're just not aware of them. So
you want to connect people, like-minded people. And I think I agree with you, because the People's Health Alliance and People's Food and Farming Alliance, it's not about asking people to copy, maybe things that we're doing. It's about empowering people to go into their communities, meet and connect with like-minded people, and feel empowered to do what their community needs, and think about what they want for their community and create that. So I guess that's essentially what you're hoping to do: network people, support them in creating their own visions for themselves. Because one of so we've created a little Joinavision team. There's about 16 of us, and someone said any ideology will collapse. I was like, well, unless we all actually focus on the fact that we're all individuals, and your vision might be slightly different to mine, it might be identical, but you're not looking at me and I'm not looking at you to follow each other's path. We're just following the path that feels right for us, and then you just can create. I think that's the most important thing. So it's not a religion, it's not a I don't know what, it's not like, it's not, we're not asking everybody to buy into our vision. We're saying go to school, get a job, do whatever, but as long as it feels right with you, you've just got to follow your heart, really, or follow your soul. And that's interesting, because we were talking about this earlier, because I said to Jessica, I said, I'm in so many conversations and around lots of people looking to change, looking to build the new, but it's really scary. It's really, really scary to take that leap of faith and make a change and step away from the conditioning and understanding, so how do we do that? How do we find the courage to, get uncomfortable, and really actually start building that different future for ourselves? And I really loved what you said to me, Jessica.
Oh, I know. And I think when you tap into it, something drives you, and you can't even stop it, or you just think, I'm just going to have to, like when I used to when I started Joinavision, because I came off as myself during COVID, I was like, I'm never going on Facebook again, it's so toxic. And then I realized I just finished, so then I went upstairs, finished my book that I'd been writing for about 6 years under a pen name, and realized to sell it I had to come back on as my pen name. And I started writing how I felt, which I'd never done under myself, because people slam you down. I once someone was off to the hospital with her, gear on, and I said, I honestly don't think you should be too worried, still got a low risk of infection, and went very quiet. And I was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna step away. And it was really weird, because being free of my name actually kind of helped, because suddenly I was free of judgments. I said to my husband, I'm only going to connect with like-minded people on Facebook. That's it. So I had 12 friends, that was it. And we started chatting, and then Joinavision happened, and I just started expressing how I felt, and how we could empower ourselves. And yeah, people stopped joining.
Do you think that leap of faith then is about building a community of like-minded people who are looking for the same thing, and it's about really listening to your heart and your intuition and trying to kind of dig into that?
Yeah, because then the right people will come to you. But I think it takes a lot. I was very private on Facebook. I never ever shared my feelings. I never shared photographs. So now doing completely the opposite was very strange, expressing my feelings, expressing what was going on in my life. And my dad died, and expressing, because he cut me out of his life, and expressing that. And it was just realized actually it can be a nice place. And I think that transparency helped me get here, because and I think that's important. We're very, I was very private. I was quite, because people are so judgmental, you withdraw into yourself. You don't know who you could speak freely to, who you can trust. And then we had a lady who came to the pub, and she did a lovely sort of ceremony, and I met her in a local pub just the other day, and she said she actually works for the NHS as a therapist, psychotherapist or something. And she said during that ceremony, I kind of had like this voice saying, because she was going, who do I trust? I've been like betrayed by my family, blah blah blah, I've had so many thoughts. And this voice said, just trust yourself. And she started trusting herself, and that's what she shares now with all her patients. And I think that's what we're not used to, because we've kind of had this system which destroys our gut instinct, because school says, oh, just get on with it, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, and society. And so we then find it really hard to know how to listen to that gut instinct. And then I'm speaking.
Sorry, I would agree with you totally. We've just been told to ignore the intuition completely, and push it to one side. And I think that's a real skill that we have to work on trying to pull back. I feel really strongly about that. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, I'm speaking to an ex-anaesthetist called Karen Collingwood, and we're doing regular videos. And she said it's like a muscle. You just have to keep using it. And if it hasn't been used for a long time, it's going to take a while. But when Casey is amazing, because she didn't know she was pregnant until 8 months with her first child. She had the thing in her arm, so it came out a complete surprise. She didn't have any family around her. She was with the dad of her son, but the kind of hospital left her on her own. And she said, and she'd had a challenging childhood, but she said, I think she'd learned to listen to her gut from a very young age. So she's really in tune with it, really. Whereas for me, I trust Casey now more than me, because I'm still learning. I had many more years of programming than Casey.
I hear you. So let's talk a little bit more about Joinavision then. So we've got people here tonight. It's obviously piqued an interest building new communities. There's many people out there that are looking to either build a community hub like you have done with the pub, or to get involved with building communities to live in. And Joinavision might be a really good place for people to start. You mentioned camping. That sounds like a lot of fun. Tell us a little bit about how people might be able to get involved with Joinavision, or access it as a network to maybe start reaching people in their localities, to maybe start making that leap of faith, to start making that change. How can they do that?
Well, I guess it's just starting to put yourself out there. Social media is an amazing platform at the moment. While we are so divided, it is incredible. And a guy, just this week posted that he's got some land in Port Talbot and he wants to join with someone. And I just think if you keep putting yourself out there, it's not going to happen overnight. I'm very impatient, so I had to wait a long time for this. And I wanted it. I'm like, I'm ready 7 years ago. I was like, I want to live with people. But it takes a while for the right people to come. And I think also, so we've got a camping opportunity at the pub. We thought we'd create weekends where people who are interested in living with other people can come and gather. And I thought we'd provide the cooking, and we'll just come so they can have a nice time and see if they connect with people, and then they can go somewhere like Shea, Godfrey's and Glastonbury, and where they can actually work together as a community, or just create their own, or say, can we come and camp at the pub and we'll cook ourselves. But cooking for yourself is so important. I cannot as a team, because then you really will see who works and who doesn't.
When are those camping weekends then, Jessica? Have you got those planned in the diary, or is it something to keep an eye on your website and social media for?
Yeah, keep an eye. But
Okay.
in the meantime, yes, there's another lady up in Scotland near Dumfries. She's happy to host events for people. So I kind of think we got Dumfries, Glastonbury and Suffolk. But equally, if this is something that you want to do, and don't think, well, I can't do it because I'm on benefits, or I can't do it because I'm not an investor. A lot of people will talk themselves out, but if you think everybody's got a value, and if you really want this, you'll achieve it. You've just got to let go of that voice that says you're not it's not going to happen for me. Because Casey was on benefits, a single mum, and now she's helping us run our business. And I also think like one of the guys on Joinavision, he used to work for Oxfam, so he traveled all around the world with Oxfam, and he said the best charity is a loan. So he said to set someone up in a business and then they pay that loan back, because then it's more empowering for them, and then the charity can help more people. So he said that's what Oxfam ended up doing, that once, which I was really surprised about, because he said what we found is if you give a village something, they'll then want more, and they won't have created that self-sufficiency. But if you offer them something and say, in exchange, we will have this, he said people get far more motivated. And I think that's the thing, that everybody needs money to survive at the moment. But we can exchange our energy and our time, and we can pool resources. And I think pooling resources and sharing, just just sharing.
I think there's definitely room for that in the future, isn't there? I'm really hoping that we can develop a kind of vegetable bartering kind of system through PFFA and things like that. And I think that's the way that people really want to go. So is it just so that people know where to go, Jessica, is it joinavision.org?
.co.uk.
.co.uk. And which social media platforms are you on, please?
We're on everything.
Okay.
TikTok, Instagram. Not very good on Instagram. I can't quite get my head around it. But Facebook is the one we seem to be grasping. And the other thing I would say, so we've got a lady that works in the house. So the rest of us, me and my husband are setting up the pub with Casey. David is retired, so he's offering all his time and energy for free at the moment. But the other lady, she's currently in a job, and we're kind of trying to work out how the house can generate more income so it reduces our monthly outgoings. And Kay and me have got really into growing. So I always overplant, and now I'm sort of putting them into little loo rolls now, because we're collecting loo rolls. And we're going to start selling them at the pub, and that will cover the cost of our seeds and hopefully a little but we've got so into it, we've probably got about I reckon we've got probably about 100 plants that we'll be able to sell in about a month's time. And
maybe we can help you get a food hub set up as well. So if you were interested, we're looking to set up food hubs and community hubs where people can start buying direct from local producers, and then there's a little bit of income that you can make from that as well. That might be useful.
Yes, that's a
That'd be
brilliant
good.
idea. Yes.
Are you all right if we do some questions,
Yeah,
Jessica?
go
Does
for
that
it.
sound
Yeah.
okay? Is anybody, if
Yeah.
please raise your hand if you've got a question, your virtual hand or your real hand, I don't mind. And if you'd rather not, please put any questions in the chat or comments that you would like to share. Gwen, I'm going to ask you to unmute if that's okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I've just muted you. I'm sorry. Can you unmute again?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Cool.
Hi.
Hiya. It was a question about the pen name. Like, I'm completely private. I never put anything on social media, but I'd really like to start something and be visible, but maybe not as my own name. Yeah, if you could just tell me a bit more about how that worked for you, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, well, we were in Greece, and we were staying in this place called Ammes, and it was just on Kefalonia. And this guy called George, he just loved his place so much, and it was this most beautiful garden. And I was just walking up from the beach. I've always quite liked the name Jessica. I didn't think my real name was a good author name. And so I was just walking up, and I just said, "Oh, what about Jessica Ammes?" To my family. And they were like, "Yeah. Yeah." So that was about 6 years ago. So it was way before Joinavision began. But then, yeah, so just, I mean, I don't know if I'd have used my. It is liberating, I have to say. But then you go through this stage, like more people knew me as Jessica than my own name. And I only met a lady in the cafe. She goes, "I don't know what to call you." I was like, actually, and so for a while I was like, "Am I Jessica? Should I just let go of my name completely?" But then I thought, no. I think your name comes with a lot of baggage as well if you've had stuff going on so it was liberating. But I think now I've kind of learned to accept it again. So I've kind of gone full circle. But just think of a name that you like. Yeah. And just even, I mean, some people, like one lady's called Sulim Fountain. I can't remember why, but I love that name. But she told me the reason why. I think it was something musical or something ancestral. So just something that resonates with you, really. Yeah, and just go with it. Are you thinking?
And go for it. Go for it. Put yourself out there. Sorry.
Yeah. Would you like to live with others, Gwen?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the community journey for about 10 years. I've been living with people. I'm actually living in a residential community right now, growing food, and I've come from a place where I was sharing with 5 others, and before that I was in a place with 4 others. So I've really been exploring this, and I want to set up my own place, and it looks like it's about to become possible. And I'm just thinking, how can I be visible in this? So yeah, pen name, great idea, love it.
Yes. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, well, good for you. And use Joinavision to put yourself out there, because and also, if trust your gut, because there will be people who will want to take advantage of even if they mean well. There's something in, I think we've created a society of expectations, and some people expect a life that they might so just be careful, and also listen to the people that you trust around you. Listen to them. Like my children, I really trust them, and because their gut is much stronger than mine. So they'll clock something way before me, and I'm like, no, it's fine. But one guy was really interesting. He had about 9 acres of land, and he wanted to just support people who didn't have the fortune to have 9 acres of land. So he got a group of people, and he said, it took me a while to realize that they were going to take everything I had, and they just didn't want to do any of the work. So he ended up carrying the whole of the community. So he ended up selling the land, and I just think that's such a shame. He could have but he was on his own, and he was single, a very gentle man. And I just think that's why we have to make sure that support work is the support team is really strong, so that you really trust each other. And if someone's saying this doesn't feel right, you trust them. Yeah, and you're constantly talking. I just feel like you just never stop sharing what's going on in you, because sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong, and sometimes you might be overreacting, and there's other people to say, well, actually, that was a bit, bit of an overreaction. But Julie's very active on the chats. Yes, she's put something about soul midwifery is really supporting with dying and death. So, and I think that's what as communities we can do. I think when you're a mum as well, probably anybody who's been through parenting, you realise how isolating this world is. Because you leave all your friends with the jobs and everything, and then you're left with a baby, and you're told you've got to have a clean house, you've got to, run a job and a family. And I think that's when I started to think, this is crazy. We can't do all this. So I think for families, it's just a great opportunity. I got another little hand. Julie.
I thought I'd respond to that and show my face, but earlier.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I've love reading what you've put.
Well, soul midwifery is actually about birthing the soul with death.
Wow.
It's an area I never thought I'd be sort of entering into, but about 20 years ago I did. And because I used to faint even at the thought of someone hurting themselves. And so luckily through these last 20 years, I've got a lot better at not needing to do that. So I can help people better. But also, I mean, even what you said about the placenta, I didn't know that. And I'm a complementary therapist, but I work with some people that are doing hypnobirthing and things like that. And this is what we need. And my first birth was in hospital, and I was moved from one room to another. They kept changing the clocks, some of them weren't working, etc., etc. Thankfully, the second birth I had at home, but I was supposed to be having a midwife coming out to then accompany me to hospital. And a midwife came out during the night and said, oh yeah, nothing much is happening. So she disappeared. So then my actual midwife came out when I was going through significant, feeling the labour pains and stuff, but also in a lot better place than I was in hospital. And then she came out and said, oh, well, I've got some good news and some bad news. Good news is you're so much dilated. Bad news is we ain't got time to get to hospital. And it's the best thing that could have happened. And my 2.5-year-old needed to be whisked away. But then, because they'd not told me about going on all fours and things to get the baby's spine in the right place, her spine was towards my spine. And so it was a significant birth still. But I managed it at home and without having to go to hospital. And honestly, if I'd have known that, and thankfully with my daughter, both their spines were the wrong way with the 2 grandchildren, but initially, but with the first one, we didn't know about the crawling about. And so I helped her with the second one, and she was born, yes, in hospital, but in an aqua pool. Absolutely wonderful. And we need more people to know about these natural proper birthing.
We do. I think that's crucial for women, because if they realise how incredible their bodies are, then you'll start trusting your body from then on. After our first one, I said to my husband, I now know why men want to jump out of airplanes, because they don't get this. And I'm like,
so I've seen my grandchildren watching on YouTube and things like that, which I sort of let them watch enough because I know they're watching it anyway, with or without me. And there was one particular person that she was all hooked up to loads of machinery during the birth and thinking that was normal. It's just crazy. But anyway, thank you so much. You're very inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Well, and thanks and please share that on Joinavision. It's like all things like this that we need to, yes, because it's lovely. I don't know all this stuff, like soul midwifery. It's beautiful. Sam's here. but yes, it's I think childbirth is crucial. So we're trying to, hopefully getting to ladies and men before they've even had children, so that they go into pregnancy with a different perspective.
I had 2 beautiful births. I'm more than happy to share that with your yeah, I did hypnobirthing. I was very blessed, but I think it's a lot to do with the preparation, isn't it?
It is.
In fact, I preferred the births to the carrying, to be honest, but that's probably 'cause I'm a bit selfish and I didn't like putting my life on hold.
And I know.
Story.
Oh, well done. So you knew about all of this before.
Yeah, really blessed. It's so nice and I just think it's so important for women and men, fathers and mothers, to hear that it doesn't have to be a kind of traumatic experience that some people almost wear as a badge of honor. So the more traumatic it is, the kind of, and that's not taking it away from people that did have a terrible time. I really honor and respect and that too, but it's just nice to hear a range of stories so that you can go into it knowing that there are ways that you can, and it's about coming back to what you said, it's about having that control and choice and knowing that maybe you can perhaps influence it in a way, and hopefully it will go that way. It doesn't always,
Yeah. And Catherine's just said, she's going to have a free birth for her 3rd. So that is, amazing. And how I think when you realize the power of our minds, and that you can talk yourself into a positive situation or you can talk yourself into a negative situation. And if you apply that to birth, I would imagine the C-section numbers would be dramatically reduced if we all stepped into that power. But again, fear is a very good sort of tool of manipulation, isn't it? And we need to let go of all those little voices of fear. And
and you did it. You're living in community and you've got a community hub and you've got a network online to connect people through Joinavision, and you've done that in what amount of time, Jessica?
Yeah, well, Joinavision was created 31st July 3 years ago this year.
Well done.
Thank you. Yes, well, anyway, we can help people, but the thing is helping yourself. So putting yourself out there, even if you feel uncomfortable, but the right people will come to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Unless there's any more questions, I think that's a great point to end on. Have the courage.
Someone's put
they've just put a little question in, haven't they?
Yeah, how did you agree the financial split? Oh yes, so we actually all put it, so the house cost about $880, and there's 4 of us, 4 adults, so we all put in was it $220 each, and you can get a mortgage if you're buying a house with 4 people. So we were all in a position, thank God, that we didn't need a mortgage, but you can get a mortgage. So everybody would have a mortgage of 220, which is much better than, buying a house, because the houses we were looking at 450, 500,000 on our own with not much land and a big renovation job. And also, what would you do if someone decided they wanted to sell? David has said that he would like the house to stay as under this ethos. So he, if something happens to him, the house will carry on. And Kay has got 2 children, so we would sell her share. And I think we agreed 3 to 6 months to find a replacement. And if we can't find a replacement, and if there's no other choice, we'd have to sell. But I think, I don't think we would have to sell. And then, we've got 4 children, so hopefully they would like to take it over. And Sharon's put, is there a group of people interested in buying a place together in the Southwest? I'm pretty sure someone on Joinavision has posted around that area. But again, it's putting yourself out there. And then I'd probably set up a Facebook page yourself and just keep posting in places like Diggers and Dreamers. You've got to make, whatever you believe, you've got to make sure that other people feel the same. Even if you don't believe in, like, we're mostly vegetarian, Kay and David eat meat, but you know, you don't have to all be the same, but you have to be, it's letting go of all that judgment, really. So that's the most important thing. So just, oh yeah, and how to get in touch with them. Yes, well, it's scrolling through the previous posts, but again, I'd probably just put a post out there. And yeah, and Julie's put, yeah, I'm currently going through a shared property, % of how much input at today's price for, oh, I don't quite understand that question.
It's not a question, I'm just saying that's what I'm going through. So we're just doing it on a percentage basis. So whatever we've been told, and obviously you have to get a sort of price that you're all happy with, but we're doing it on a percentage. So they are, I can't remember what percentage now, but you know, like 46%.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get the 54% as and when it's sold. Yeah.
That's what we're doing, actually. Yes, because it wasn't exactly. So yeah, we've done exactly that. And a solicitor drew up it all. It's completely above board to buy a house with 4 people. And because, I mean, our solicitor was Indian, so it's, you know, very normal in in different cultural families. So all very normal. And regarding our, yes, bills and everything. So council tax is divided by adults, not taken into consideration of children. But food, yes, is split, you know, so Kay has 1/8, whereas we're 6/8 and or 3/4. So yeah, and it's kind of all, you know, pretty much common sense, really, and easy. But again, happy to share. Yeah, we haven't gone down the common law route because we've got quite friendly with Darren Diogi, who has very knowledgeable about common law, and yeah, he's had quite a few experiences where it didn't work out. So for the time being, also common law is cause no loss or something like that. And we, like someone said to me, if you've lost loads of time trying to create a system or fight a system, then that's giving energy to it. So he also said to me, when I learned all this, I was like, how do I how do I get my kids' passports and all this? And he said, just treat it like a game. Some bits you have to participate in and some bits you don't, and do your best, but do your best to also have an easy life, the easiest life you can, so you can focus your energies on planting, doing positive stuff instead of, because buying the pub, you realize how much they are trying to keep you down. Fire regs, licensing laws, council tax, business rates, all this, and it's just a way of, but you just think we've just got to keep going, and we'll get there. We'll get through it. And you just but
so my comment was in response to Sharon's asking, does your group house have a legal status? And what I did question, what is a legal status? That was the only reason I put it. Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Yes. So ours has a legal status, but yeah. And Sam's put Wild Mind Homestead on Instagram, setting up community groups too. So there are people out there. And also what I was saying to Sam before we join the call, I've noticed that there are a lot of farmers out there, lovely farmers who've chilled. What I find sad about the farmers, they've often put their children in private school, which often then keeps them competing, and the family have kind of fallen apart, and the dads are just left running the farms on their own. So I think if we can somehow connect with, because as Sam was saying, that they've had a bad rap, a really tough ride with supermarkets and all of this, we just need to start joining together and saying, yeah, so I'm going to approach gradually over time, once we've built a bit of trust up with these farmers, I will approach them and say, is there, would you consider having someone on a off-grid structure on your farm in exchange for helping you with the jobs around? And so but I think there's so many ways going around this. It's just being creative and never giving up, really.
Sam, did you want to finish tonight off with a final comment or question? It's nice to see you, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Hi, Sam.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I was just going to say, just try and connect up with community as much as you can, whether that be by running your own community gardens, growing food together, whether you get together as a health hub. In our local area, we had a really strong Stand in the Park group, and our group's doing lots of different things, but we're still all together as like a big community. But if the main thing, I think, really is just to join up with other like-minded people, and then that's key, really. So grow food together, and there's lots of stuff online. Instagram's quite good. There's lots of different groups out there all over the country that are literally doing the same, and we're pockets everywhere at the moment, but these pockets will start to spread, and they'll start to grow, and they'll start to come together. It's just really important just to keep like networking, meeting up, looking online, and just try and find your people, really.
Yeah. Yes. And then, you know, if you find a group of people that you think, well, say there's 10 people that have come and responded to your ad, and like I didn't want people to know where I lived at first, because you start speaking out, you become quite paranoid. So we would meet in public places, and then I started to realize that most people are actually really nice. But if anybody wants to just come down to the pub, if they met a group of people, and they might be dotted around the country, just come to the pub for a weekend, and yeah.
I'd be up for that.
Great.
Never managed to get to the Joinavision camps that you did in the early days, and I was always a bit gutted. A couple of our group managed to get there, but I was always a bit gutted about that. But I'm going to try and get to, or I am going to get to, the Crops Not Shops. Have got a big Glastonbury festival at the end of June, so I'm definitely going to that. So that should be good.
I know, that looks amazing.
Yeah. Are you going?
No, because my husband's family have organised a holiday on the 1st of July that we're going to. I know, but yeah, I think that's brilliant. Again, his campsite looks absolutely fantastic to try and live as a community. So just really
interesting to go there, but they're also offering camping nights just for other days as well, just general camping. So but just to see what that community looks like and sort of experience.
If anyone's interested in joining us next Tuesday, we'll be talking to him about that. So you can always come back next Tuesday and we'll be chatting to him then. Yeah, lovely. And Sam, I'll see you in the fields, love.
Yeah, take care.
Okay. Right. Well, it's 8 o'clock, and so I think, you know, it's maybe a good time to wrap it up. But Jessica, thank you so much. People can find you at joinavision.co.uk and across all social media platforms. They can email into us at info@pffa.org, and we can pass on any information. If you've got any questions, please get in contact. And thank you for being a lovely group today with some great questions and comments. And thank you so much. And let's keep building community and having the confidence to make the changes we want to see. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for turning up. Lovely to see you all. Bye.